How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Cherokee Ronnie, and today we're going to be talking about why are Jeeps so unreliable. Yes, I'm saying on this channel why Jeeps are so unreliable. Growing up, I heard this, and I always thought they were junk until I got my own, and I actually figured out that they are pretty reliable. Now, I know I just said they are unreliable, and now I'm saying they're reliable. But you'll understand why if you watch this full video. Now, I've owned several Cherokees. I've owned a WJ, I've owned a ZJ, and I've owned, the Wrangler, and they all perform great. Now, each and every one of those models have their own flaws and problems, but for the most part, they're still running around today, ragged out, and still getting people from point A to point B. Now, a lot of people say Jeeps are junk and unreliable. I don't know how many comments that I get on my Facebook, my YouTube, and Instagram about how Jeeps are junk. Especially when people start lifting them and all this stuff, right? So, the number one thing that I get is, I've lifted my Jeep, I put 35s on it, and this thing has death wobble. Now, a lot of people don't understand what death wobble is. If your front end starts shaking or has any problem, everybody calls it death wobble. That's not death wobble. That's for a whole different video. But to get to the point, a lot of people will buy a $500 Cherokee. They'll put a rough country 4.5 lift on it. They'll throw 35s on it, and everything just starts falling apart. The steering wheel will shake while you're going down the road. Ball joints wear out. Wheel bearings are wearing out. And they're like, this thing is unreliable. But what comes with that when you lift a Jeep is you have to upgrade everything else. Because if you go back and watch the tie rod video, the one that I made, I show you how weak the Y-Link system is on a Cherokee. And when you throw 35s on that thing, the energy from those big tires is just going through that bar, and it's just flexing, and it causes that front end to shake. The lower control arms are weak and all that stuff. And I don't know how many people I've heard say, I lifted my Jeep and it's so unreliable. I'm always doing this, always doing that. I'm wearing out parts, I'm doing that. But they're not upgrading it. They're just putting stock stuff on it, right? So, I can sit here and talk about this all day long about how Jeeps are unreliable, but if you're a backyard mechanic like I am, you'll know what you have to do to make them reliable. And the problem is with Jeeps nowadays, especially the Cherokees and the older Wranglers and the ZJs and the WJs, is somebody has either run this thing half their life, have traded it in or sold it, or a young kid has really beat the crap out of this thing, or somebody has abused it, and it just has lack of maintenance. And you get this thing and you start running it because you've heard that Jeeps last over 400,000 miles and you have nothing but problems with it. Yeah, I understand that because I went through that when I bought my first Cherokee. I didn't understand. Motor mounts broke. For some reason, the leaf spring bushings are going out. My power steering, I had all kinds of problems with this Jeep, and I'm like, I thought these things were reliable and all this stuff, but to remind you, this Jeep had 365,000 miles on it, and somebody's done put it in the ringer and then sent it down the road to me, and I was trying to put it through the ringer. So, yes, Jeeps are unreliable in a way, but they are super reliable if you know what you're doing. A stock Cherokee is actually super reliable. Anything stock Jeep is super reliable. It's when you start tampering with everything that's not stock anymore. So you put lower control arms on it, you put a lift on it, it becomes unreliable. We make these things unreliable. And what I mean by that is if you cheap, like this channel's all about cheap, and I get a lot of hate for that because they poke fun and stuff. They say, oh, I don't have the money to do this, but I make this channel cheap because I want to show you guys you can actually do this stuff and have nice stuff and build things cheap. But a lot of people will skimp out on a lot of parts. They'll lift their Jeep 3 inches and they'll just get spring spacers and lift blocks for the back, and it's a disaster. And you don't have the right components. Okay, you're lifting these things and you don't have the right components, and it's unreliable. It will wear out parts, and it'll keep doing that until you upgrade those parts. So that's what makes Jeeps unreliable. And what you have to understand is when you lift something, you have to continue to make everything else stronger. If you want these things to last, you have to follow up with everything else, like we did in the budget series that we did. But as you can see, we followed up with everything that needed done on a budget, and we got it done. And this Jeep drives great. Now, is it something that I need to jump on the highway and take vacation in? No, because I've done ruin the drivability of this Jeep. And what I mean by that is it's not a stock Cherokee anymore. It's pointing more towards an off-road vehicle. And everybody that has an off-road vehicle and builds off-road vehicles, they know the more you make it off-road capable, the less of an on-road vehicle that it becomes. I know a lot of people out there's like, oh, that's garbage, blah, 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 but it's true. Okay, you're putting 37s on a Jeep and all this other stuff, it becomes more off-road capable than it does on-road capable. Starts riding rough, it don't have a lot of speed, it barely gets up to 60 on the highway, but off-road it's a great vehicle. And it's not necessarily a daily driver. So like I said, I believe that we make Jeeps unreliable. I'm tired of seeing comments that the WJ that I had was unreliable. That Jeep had 200,000 miles on it, and somebody made it unreliable. I just got it to make a cheap build out of it, but it was beyond repair. The Cherokees you can make reliable, like this one. This one was an unreliable vehicle because it wobbled all over the road. It crab rocked. It was always overheating. It was doing all these things. The guy that I bought it off of, and which I can understand that. You know, when you have a family, you're not looking to have an off-road rig and you're just trying to get by fixing stuff. But the problem was he had the Cherokee, the one that we built. He had it. They had a 4.5-inch lift or a 4.5-inch lift on it, but they didn't replace the other components. So you're getting death wobble. It's pulling over here because it's wearing out the bushings on the lower control arms every 6,000 miles. You know, there's so much problems that I ran into building this Jeep from having a half of a lift and not finishing it, and how it was wearing stuff out. We're not going to have that problem now because we went higher and fixed it. So keep that in mind. If you're going to buy a Jeep, don't bash the name because it's not unreliable. It's us that makes it unreliable. How do you treat it? What do you put it through? What are you doing with it? And what are your plans with it? So I just thought I'd make this little video on Jeeps and what we do to make them unreliable. But there's tons of things you can do to make them reliable. I believe the budget Jeep that we built will be super reliable. I believe what we built, it'll rot away before anything will break. I mean, that's just how it is. But it's more off-road capable. The more money that I put into the Cherokee, the more off-road capable it becomes. That's what I'm wanting anyway. But it's more unreliable on the road. So leave your comments down below of what you think is unreliable on a Jeep or what you like reliability wise on the Jeep. I believe the XJs are super reliable and I've not had a lot of problems out of them. But like I said, you can't buy them with 400,000 miles and expect them to be like a brand new vehicle. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. I got shirts down in the link below, and I got the playlist to the budget build that we did on the Cherokee down below. Also, check those videos out. The next video you'll see of the Cherokee, we are relocating the gas tank into the rear cargo area. And I'm going to show you guys the right way to do that because there's a lot of videos on YouTube that are super quick and kind of a hack job. I'm going to put it in the back and show you guys that you can run it and make it look very neat and still have it functioning as a gas tank and not blow yourself up or die from fumes inside. So I'm Cherokee Ronnie. Stay dirty, my friend.